Hello, everyone. This is lesson one of the new unit, the industrial age slash the progressive era. Lesson one, the industrial revolutions, one and two. The essential question: how did the first and second industrial revolutions impact life in America? Before we get into the lesson, I want you to think about this critical activity we have right here. Sorry, let's go right here. I want you to compare and contrast the two societies that you see below. Predict how it would be, how it would impact your life if you were born in society A and then had to move to society B. So here is society A. You can see the details of society A. And here is society B. Now, I think some of the answers would be obvious, but I want you to predict, would it impact your life a negative way if you were born in this type of society and had to move to this society? And I want you to connect it to the lesson we had before about what it means to be civilized when we did the westward expansion unit. I want you to think about some of the discussions we had for that lesson. But either case, you click on the link, you click on this image below, and then you click the edit box, and then you'll be able to type your responses here, okay? How it would impact your life if you were born in society A and then had to move to society B, okay? Talk about some of the things that you know and some of the things that you would miss if you had to make that transition, okay? And then we're going to have a discussion about that if you're involved either in the in-person learning or during remotely, okay? So that's the first step. The next activity involved in this lesson is analyzing this video about the Industrial Revolution. I'm going to play it right now.
Hey, not so fast. Dear Tim and Moby, what was the Industrial Revolution all about? From Marcia. The period from the mid-1700s to the early 1900s is called the Industrial Revolution because of all the technological advances made. A huge number of inventions during this 150-year period completely changed the way people lived and worked. There were two different revolutionary periods. They're called the First and Second Industrial Revolutions. The first one covers the mid-1700s all the way up to around 1850.
Remember that time period. So the first IR, and I'm going to call it the IR, Industrial Revolution, was from 1750 to 1850.
It started in England with three major inventions. One was the steam engine, perfected by Scottish engineer James Watt. Steam power was used to quickly manufacture things that used to rely on manpower. For example, the second major invention of this time, the powered loom. Oh, a loom is a machine that makes cloth out of thread. The new powered looms made cloth much, much faster than any person could. The third invention of this period was a new furnace for making steel. England used its vast resources of coal to power these new machines. All these industries were centered in large towns and cities. People started leaving their farm jobs in the country to come work in the city, in factories. Meanwhile, cotton plantations in the southern United States needed to keep up with the demand for raw materials from British cloth factories. So the American Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin. It picked seeds out of raw cotton much faster than a person could by hand. And in the northern U.S., factories pioneered the assembly line. The assembly line made it easier and faster to build things by making workers responsible for just one part of the process. Check out our assembly line movie to find out more.
And actually, we're going to talk about the assembly line. There are a lot of key things that was talked about specifically in the first IR, Industrial Revolution. Notice how he talked about how people started leaving small towns and farms to come into the city to work in factories. That connects with another topic, which is called urbanization. And we're going to talk about urbanization in another lesson. Now he's going to get into the second Industrial Revolution.
So that was the first Industrial Revolution. The second one covered the late 1800s, and it was led by the United States. For one, there were huge advances in transportation and communication, with the railroad, telegraph, telephone, and steamship.
So, clearly understand, in terms of the second industrial revolution, IR, the focus was in the United States. The first one was in England. The second one was in the United States. Railroads, telegraph lines, telephones, steam engines. Notice the difference.
These advances made it easier to transport goods and information. Without them, the world economy would never have grown the way it did. Another big area of improvement was the harnessing of electricity. This was a cheaper, more flexible power source than the steam engine. It led to the invention of the light bulb, trolleys, subways, the radio, and lots more. The third advance was the use of scientific discoveries in making consumer goods. The automobile would never have been mass-produced without this major shift in industrial thought. Of course, cars would never have been possible without the invention of commercial oil wells. The US drilled lots of oil during the Second Revolution. By the time the 20th century rolled around, the Industrial Revolution had changed Europe and the US from farming societies to industrial societies.
Huge thing to remember. So the transformation of Europe and the United States from farming, aka agrarian societies, to industrial societies was the major impact of the Industrial Revolution. Farming to industrial.
Lots of new wealth was created, and a new class of society, the middle class, was born. Of course, burning all that coal and oil, there was quite a bit of pollution. In addition, social conditions didn't always get better, and in many cases, they got worse. For instance, instead of going to school, children were expected to work more than ever, and for very little pay.
I want you to think about what you're looking at here, specifically with the children, in these factories. Think about the hands, the fingers. What could possibly happen, and especially the feet? What could possibly happen to children working with such machinery? Specifically their feet. And why did their feet have to be barefooted? Okay? Think about that. I'm going to play it from here.
Instead of going to school, children were expected to work more than ever, and for very little pay.
So instead of going to school, they went to work for little pay.
And before laws were passed to regulate industry, many of the conditions inside factories could be both dangerous and, well, gross. Still, it really was an earth-shaking revolution. Almost every aspect of modern life has some connection to the Industrial Revolution. Uh-oh. Faster, faster!
Okay, so that's about the first and second industrial revolutions. Along with this video, there is, in this document, a comparison organizer where you're going to look at on the left side, what happened during the first IR and everything that happened in the second IR. So it goes back and forth where you can compare and contrast. Okay? And after you do that, the first performance task is this Venn diagram where you are going to compare and contrast the first and second industrial revolutions. All you simply do is click on the image, go to edit, and then based on your knowledge from the BrainPop video and the document attached to this organizer, you're going to talk about the impact of the first and second IR. All you simply do is click on and then simply type in your responses. And then your responses will be there. If you click on this part as well, the same thing will happen. All you simply do is simply move it to where you want to type, and then it'll type. And then you go on to the area for the similarities, comparing them. And then you'll be able to compare the similarities. Okay? So that is the first lesson. During class, we will also talk about the bubble map that you're going to do. The bubble map is here. Okay? You're going to talk about how did the first and second industrial revolutions impact life in the United States. But we're going to get more into it during the lesson. And please let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you very much.